and it's time for another episode of Art Pastor Live. I'm Steve Thomason, and I am the Art Pastor. I'm a visual artist, I'm a pastor in the Evangelical Lutheran Church in America, and I'm a seminary professor. I teach spiritual formation at Luther Seminary. And my whole mission at Art Pastor is to explore spirituality and scripture through visual art and creativity. And my weekly practice is just to go live and invite you into my art studio and see what I'm working on. And so every week it's different. And this week, I'm excited about what we're going to do this week because I want to invite you into a spiritual practice that I do all the time. And it's simply to draw faces on my iPad in Procreate. And you think, for some people, that's not a spiritual practice because they're artists and they just like to draw. And that's great. But for me, I am an artist and I love to draw faces, and it's a spiritual practice for me. And if nothing else, I think a lot of people just think it's cool to watch. And so my hope for you in this session is that you will be able to really enjoy the process of watching me create to draw. And I'm going to show you like how I do it from the beginning to end, all the way from starting how I find faces to how I draw them in Procreate. And if you are with me live on either YouTube or Facebook, feel free to drop a note in the chat and with comments or questions, and we'll just enjoy this process together. And it should be super fun. Okay, so let me get set up over here. And what I'm going to do is I've got my over the shoulder camera going. And I'm going to switch over to my iPad interface. So here you go. This is my iPad, and got to get it set up here. And I'm going to turn off my music at first, and then we'll get into the zone with the music. All right. So here's my my practice. Let me get my over the shoulder camera lined up properly so you can see my hand moving on the iPad. So I am working on an iPad Pro. It's the 12:9 iPad Pro. And one of the cool things about the iPad Pro is that you use this Apple Pencil. This is the Apple Pencil 2. It has a flat edge on it, and it sticks to the side of the iPad to recharge. And so my previous iPad, you had to stick it in the lightning pin, and then it oddly and awkwardly stuck off the side, and I was always afraid I was going to break it off. But this is the iPad Pro. So what I want to do is just meditate on drawing faces, because if you've watched any of my previous videos, you know that for me, drawing is seeing. And it's a way for us to slow down and actually pay attention to what we're looking at and really observe. So drawing is seeing, seeing is understanding, and understanding is the beginning of wisdom. So let me show you what I do. Sometimes I just like to experience the human face. And so my first step is I actually go to Pinterest. And I have on Pinterest, I have created a whole folder dedicated to faces. And so I will find a face, and I'll just find one that I find really interesting. And this one popped up, right? So my Pinterest account is trained at what I like to look at, and that one of those things is just faces. And so I will take this face and I will download the image. Boom, and then it goes into my photo gallery. So if you come over here to my photo gallery on my iPad, up here to photography to photos, you'll see that now it's in my photo gallery. So with that being there, the next thing I'll do is I'm going to open up Procreate. Now Procreate is a fantastic app for drawing, and I'm going to click the plus button, and create a new file. And I have, so you can make any size you want. And I have created, I think on this one I'll just do like an 8.5 by 11. Um, no, I'm actually going to do an 11 by 14 paper. And so if you come up here to the gear icon and hit on canvas, you can hit canvas information and it will show you the dimensions. And so this is an 11-inch wide by 14-inch tall canvas at 300 dpi. 300 dpi means it's print quality. So this will be a nice size image. So the first thing I want to do is I'm going to show you a feature of Procreate where you can actually, if you click, so I've got the canvas open. If I click on reference, then you can uh, bring in, if you click on image and hit import image, it will open up your photo gallery. And I'm going to click on that image that I just downloaded. And so now I have this image inside of Procreate. So that's pretty cool. And so this image, I can zoom in on it, I can turn it around, and I don't have to have any other apps open, because this is just my reference image, and it's really cool. And so if you are working in a portrait format like this one, portrait means vertical, up and down, landscape is side to side. Then you can have your reference image open and you can have your drawing canvas open over here. Now, if I grab this up here by the little line, I can actually drag my reference image anywhere I want on the screen. So if I'm drawing a certain part, if you're left-handed, whatever. So I'm right-handed, so I like to have my reference over on the left-hand side. And again, I can make this window, if I just grab it in the bottom corner, I can make it as big. That's the max size I can go. So I want it to be just like that. Okay, so now I have my image open. And now I'm going to start, I'm going to grab my Apple Pencil. And the first thing that I like to do is come up here to uh, my layers button. And the default color for the background in Procreate is pure white. But I want to take, I like to bring that down into a gray tone. And as I look at this image, you can see the background of that has a bit of a green tint to it. So I want to pull it, here, and I just want to pull it over just a little bit into the green zone. And I think that'll make a nice neutral background. So yeah, so there you go. So one of the reasons for creating that neutral background is that it lets you go down into the shadows and up into the highlights. Because if you start with pure white, it's kind of hard to go into the highlights and to see the highlights. And so it's really good practice to have some kind of a mid tone as the ground of your drawing. All right, so I just have one layer open, and I'm going to go ahead and just choose a black. Well, maybe what I'll do is I'll choose this color and bring it to almost black, but just a really dark version of that color. And I'm just going to start sketching. Now, what do you draw with when you're drawing faces in Procreate? Well, that's really a matter of taste. And when you first download Procreate, you'll have tons of brushes that come with Procreate. And there's a whole sketching drawer. So you think about each of these things on the left-hand side like drawers of tools, of brushes. And so in Procreate language, a brush is any kind of utensil, a pencil, pen, marker, crayon, those are all called brushes. And this set of sketching brushes comes with Procreate. So like there's peppermint, looks like that. There's Derwent that looks like that. If I zoom in on them, you can see they have a little bit of a graininess to them. Um, the cool thing about the Apple Pencil is that when you put it on its side, you can do shading with it. If you press down, it's like even when it's on its side, it's pressure sensitive. So if I'm using just a light pressure, it's a nice light scale. If I put pressure on it, it gets dark. If I tilt it up, then I can get that nice fine brush, right? So that's really nice. It all depends on what you like. If you take 3 fingers and scrub back and forth, it will clear that whole layer, and that's pretty cool. But over the years, I've experimented. One of the things about Procreate is artists are out there who like to make brushes. So you can customize and make your own brushes. I've not really gotten into making up my own brushes because there's so many people out there who make amazing brushes. And one of them is a guy named Max Olkini. I never say his name right. But if you look at Max Packs, um, he's brilliant at making brushes. And I really love his brushes. And I have chosen one of his brushes that's called the Max U Sketch Marker Soft. And this is my go-to brush for sketching. So now I've chosen my brush. And so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to draw. And so I'm going to go ahead and actually turn on the music now so we can kind of get into the zone. Because what I'll do is many times, if you've seen my social media posts, you'll see like, another relaxing afternoon of drawing faces. This is the process. A lot of times I do them in Procreate. So this is exactly what I would be doing. But often doing this sitting on the couch because you can with an iPad. Oh, and by the way, I'm also I have my iPad inside of this thing called a dartboard, and this is made by AstroPad, and it is fantastic. It's this lightweight, soft but rigid. I don't know if you have soft and rigid. It's a really beautiful material, and I can hold it up to my big camera. You can see it. It's thin, but it's super light. But it allows you to have your iPad so that you can rest your hand on the side of the iPad down here, and it really makes for the drawing experience so much better. And so there you go. All right, so here's what I'll do is I'll just start. First thing I want to do is there is the cranial mass of the head, and so I just want to like feel the skull. And a lot of this has to do with understanding your anatomy. And so I'm just gonna get the basic, like there's the skull. You can see how the eyes are at the level of the base of the skull. So I've got my eyes right here, the base of the skull, and you have this frontal plane right here. And then, let's see. And the distance from here to here is really a lot bigger than you think. And so I'm just doing rough shapes. You can see it's super rough, right? And when I draw portraits, I don't want it to be exact. Like at heart, I'm a caricature artist, right? And so I think that even in portraiture, there's some exaggeration that makes it interesting. And for me, for a spiritual practice, I don't want to get stressed out about it. I just want to enjoy the process of making marks. So I hope you can hear the music, because sometimes, when you're in the zone, it's kind of hard to talk and draw. Although if you want to see somebody who's brilliant at talking and drawing at the same time, you need to go check out Aaron Blaze at Creature Art Teacher. That guy, and he can just draw these amazing images and talk about it all at the same time. Okay, but again, if you're with me live and if you have any questions about what I'm doing, the process that I'm doing, feel free to leave a chat. I can see the chat right up here. So one of the temptations when you're doing digital art is to want to like get in really tight and get super detailed right away. But I don't know that that's a great practice, because in traditional art, you can't do that on a canvas, right? So it's kind of nice to just try to discipline yourself to just stay zoomed out at first when you're blocking in the big parts, right? So let's see. So now I'm going to go to the next level and kind of mark out these planes in here. This guy's got really deep set eye sockets. So there's a lot of shadow under here. Your light source is coming from here. And you notice like the bottom half of his face is kind of lost in shadow as well. He's got a very serious look on his face. So again, I'm just being loose. Yeah, I'm already in the zone, man. This is so part of the reason I do this on Friday afternoons is just a really great way to unwind at the end of the week. This marks the end of my work week. You can see as I start building this out, I realize that I haven't given enough space for the ear, so that's okay. I'll just draw it out like this. This guy's got cool hair. All right, so now I've got the basics down. So the next step is just get a little bit more refined. Maybe even make my brush a little smaller. just get in and get some of the more details in. Got this really distinctive. So now I'm going to come up here and grab. If you click on the eraser, you can choose the same brush as your eraser for your eraser. And I can refine my edges a little bit here with the eraser. That's a little bit. Just lay in the darks underneath the mustache. And see, I'm doing all of this with just one brush with a combination of pressure, pressing down to get it darker, and tilting to get a wide, or tilting up to get a more refined brush. So if I come in here and really hit that dark, and I'm just trying to simulate as if I were drawing on paper and not take advantage of all of the digital tricks that you can do. I'll do that in a little bit, but first I just want to get a nice solid pencil drawing, because that's what I find most satisfying. I like the roughness of the pencil. and then trying to, you can let the highlights through with the paper, right? Because they're not actually highlights, they're midtones, remember, because the paper is still in the midtone. Still super rough. And I'm just sketching, so I don't want to try to make it into a super refined illustration. So I'm still using the pencil, and so I'm just going to lay in a background tone with just the edge of the pencil. I think I'm going to limit myself to just doing this in pencil, as if I were, you know, it's not going to be an airbrushed image. It's going to be a pencil drawing. It's another cool thing about Procreate is, you know, you've got everything at your disposal. You can do it any way you want. But the discipline here is to try to limit as if it were traditional pencil and paper. Oops. You can see the shadow of his eyelash actually is coming across the face there. It's pretty cool. So all of this is so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to start putting in some highlights. So let's choose this. So if you press your finger down, it'll choose whatever color the little crosshair is on. And then if you come up here to the color wheel, then you can just go up the color wheel. And I want my colors to be more in this warm. So this is a really like a cool green. So I want to do my highlights more in the warm side of the spectrum, and just start blocking in some highlights. And I'm going to see what happens if I stay in the same color instead of shifting colors, be more monochromatic, just to get some of the variations in tone. Got some big highlights right up here. Cool. So there you go. There's one. And I think I'm going to do one more sketch just to show, like, these are just quick sketches. So I'm going to come over back over to Pinterest and see if maybe we can find a really different kind of face to draw. Ooh, I love this face. Look at that expression. That's just fantastic. Hit those three dots, download that image, and boom, come over here, come back here. I'm going to turn this layer off and start a new layer, and then come over here and clear this and hit import image and choose this one. And I think this will just be a fun drawing. So let's just come back here and let's draw this one, see what happens. So once again, start with the cranium. You got a hairline and a center line of the face like that. So you want to just find the basic shape of the face. It's a cool swirl. So now I have the basic shape and this nose. And what I like about this is just the expression. She's like, yeah, poof, poof, been a tough day. Trying to get that expression. She's got really expressive eyebrows. And her hair comes around like that. So her irises are right there. Just trying to imagine how they sit in the socket. So the eyelid arches over. like that. Actually want to get rid of some of that. To me, this is just super relaxing. So I'm trying to observe the face and just kind of get lost in the mark making of it. And wonder what's making her have this expression. I wonder. And the center line of her lip gets pushed way over as she's pushing her lip. See, this is just a matter of observing. You can see I'm not doing exactly the way the photograph looks. I'm just kind of getting the feel of it. A little bit of exaggeration, a little bit of just making it look the way I want it to look. And then the shadow right here will help us understand that she's blowing her cheek out, right? So these shadows are really important. So let's just put a little bit of highlights in. Got some big highlights right up here. So your main highlights are right through here. And then across this part of the eyelid. Got one little dot of reflected light on the iris. And then we have all right, there you go. So now I'm going to show you one quick thing. It's kind of fun. I'm going to close my reference. And since I did 2 full page sketches, I'm going to put on Page Assist. And if I turn this on, you'll see now each layer is a page. So now I can come to this drawing on one page and this drawing on another page. And so I could add more and more layers to this, and then I could export this as multiple JPEGs. So if I want to export this, I can come up here to the gear, hit share, and if I want to share the layers, I could share all the layers as PNG files. But what I'm going to do is just share. If you share up here, share image, it'll just share what's on the screen. So I'm going to share this one first as just save image. So now that's in my photo gallery. And if I click down here to the next image, I can hit share image JPEG and save image. So you see now if I go to my photos, you'll see that these 2 drawings are now in my photo gallery as a record of my sketching time. And yeah, so there you go. Hey, thanks for joining me today. For those of you who were watching live, hope you enjoyed it. If you're watching this later on, thanks for watching. This is my spiritual practice of exploring spirituality and scripture through visual art and creativity. And sometimes it's just a matter of drawing as a meditative practice, the skills of observation and mark making, and super relaxing, get some good music going. So I hope you enjoyed yourself, and blessings on your week. And next Friday, I'm going to be at a conference in Denver, so I don't know if I'm going to live stream or not, but I'll let you know. And we'll see you next time.